Do you know what motivates you? Do you have congruence in your life? Hello, this is Vicki Simons with TruckDriversMoneySavingTips.com. I'm going to be answering those two questions or giving you some hints on how you can find out more about it. This is Motivated Monday, and we want to be able to meet your needs for being able to save more time and money here. And the fact of the matter is that based on who you were created to be, you may find more fulfillment and satisfaction out of life depending upon what it is that you were created to do. Okay, as you may know, there are four basic personality types or temperaments, and I have described these. Actually, they've been described by somebody else. I just happen to name them by a color and an animal. And very briefly, what those are: the red lion is motivated by power, recognition, control, and money. This person looks to be able to make more powerful decisions and make as much money as he can. These are generally your business owners, type A types. The blue otter is a person who is all about fun and being able to be around a lot of people, and they're on trips, adventure, that sort of thing. And they may want to be around people who are successful as well. And your yellow golden retriever people are people who like to help people. They're nurturers and caring, compassionate people. They're all about teamwork and loyalty. And your green beaver types are very factual. They're interested in the science, the details, the research, that sort of thing. If you are a red lion, okay, you may want to aspire to be not just a regular company driver, but you may want to go on to become an owner-operator or even the owner of a trucking company, to be able to do things in a better way, something that you have felt deep within yourself that you can do a better job than, for example, the trucking company or companies with which you have been affiliated in the past. Blue otters, they don't mind being in the break room, talking with a lot of people. They don't mind being on the CB radio, talking with other people. But they need to make sure that they're not distracted while they're driving. So in that desire to be around other people, they need to remember that being alone for long periods of time or being out on the road apart from their friends or family may not be according to their strength. A yellow golden retriever may want to do a very good job for their trucking company. They may feel as though they're a part of something bigger than themselves and reaching toward, for example, getting some sort of a goal. When my husband was driving for a large southeastern trucking company, there was a problem with one of the shippers and the receivers that they were doing some work with, and one or two of the drivers, maybe three of the drivers, got a little bit sloppy in their pickup and delivery appointments. And the fact of the matter is that blew it. That blew the statistics for everyone that was working within the company as far as being able to haul the loads for that particular shipper and receiver anymore. But the thing about it is that yellow golden retriever wants to make sure that he or she is doing their part. And the green beaver, they're all about, for example, getting as much fuel economy as they possibly can from their truck, and tweaking this or trying that little thing, and making adjustments to reduce the air resistance on their trucks, and trying everything that they can to get as much oomph out of their trucks as possible, shifting the trailer tandems underneath the trailer so that they can maximize that payload, and making sure that everything is good as far as the pulling power of the truck is concerned. Now, there are some of you, I realize that you only got into trucking because it was the only thing that was left for you, okay? The economy may have destroyed your ability to earn money in a position of your strength. And that certainly happened with a friend of ours. He was trained as a mechanical engineer, and when the recession came around in 2007, 2008, okay, all of a sudden he found that he could not get a job in his chosen field anymore. So he started looking for something else and never really has gotten back into his stride, even say 8 or 9 years later. And that hurts him because he wants to be able to use that. I'm going to make a quote here. I'm going to give a quote from a book by a guy by the name of Brian Carruthers. He is a business mentor, and although he has a particular style of business that he works with and provides a detail for, I want to be able to read this to you from a position of what's called congruence. Okay? He says in locations 367 and 368 of his book, Building an Empire, awareness is key. I hold that many people are programmed by society to believe that having a job is noble and that working a hard day for someone else is responsible. Most people I know do not feel like the work they do at their job is in alignment with their purpose or their passion in life. They feel unhappy, stressed out, underpaid, underappreciated, tired, and fatigued. The reason, he wrote, is because as humans we all seek congruence. When things we are passionate about and want out of life are not connected to the work that we do, we have a sense of brokenness. We are not congruent. Now, I mention all of that because there may be some of you who you're not in a sense of congruence in your life. All right, earlier today I sent out an email to some members on a team of ours, and I wanted to give them background. Now, for those of you who have been paying attention, I have done these Facebook broadcasts for over a month now, every night at 9 o'clock, and I have been very pleased to be able to do that with a different focus every night. Tonight is Motivated Monday. And the fact is, I feel a very good sense of accomplishment, okay? I have desired to do a 90-day run of these broadcasts, but I am over the 30-day mark, okay? So I'm more than a third of the way through my goal, and I talked about how, what sort of accomplishment that I had done. And I said that I was reminded of this quote from Henry Ford, who said, if you think you can do a thing, or think you can't do a thing, you're right. Okay, now, from my position, okay, when my husband was first looking at going into trucking, I went with him to a little seminar, if you will, by a national trucking company, and we talked later with a guy who was a recruiter from the trucking school, the truck driver training school. And we wanted to be able to talk with him about things like costs and all this other stuff. And he said, well, come to my office and let's talk. Well, I wanted to sort of get things over with quickly. I wanted to know if we could afford it, this, that, and the other. But anyway, we went ahead and made an appointment to see him. And so during our conversation with the recruiter, he looks at my husband, Mike, and he says, is she going to drive too? Meaning me. Okay? And I'm thinking to myself, you've got to be kidding. Okay, you've got to be kidding me. I am a college-educated person. Of course, I was not working in the field and have not worked in the field since before my husband and I got married. But I was not working in the field of my choice. Well, my degree happens to be different from being a trucker. But anyway, my husband asked the question of the recruiter, do you think that she could drive a truck or something like that? We've written about this on our website. And the fact of the matter is, the recruiter said, without blinking an eye, without stopping to pause or even consider what he was saying, he said, yes, sir, if her feet can touch the pedals, yes, I do. I think she can become a truck driver. And I'm thinking to myself in the back of my mind, what if I could? Okay? And I had never seriously considered that before. And I sat down as a green beaver type, and you know that that's the type of person who's very analytical, and I wrote out a list of pros and cons. And the fact of the matter is, part of my logical side was saying, well, you know, if I become a truck driver along with my husband, okay, then both of us can drive the truck, and if something ever happens to him on the road, I'll be able to get us out of this fix. And so, like I said, there are a list of pros and cons, and we seriously considered it. And of course, at that point in our lives, we needed to be able to take out student loans to be able to fund our truck driver training school. But the long and the short of it was that I did become, okay, as a person who had a college degree and my husband who had 2 college degrees, we became professional truck drivers, and we drove together for almost 3 years as a husband-wife professional truck driving team. So when this thing, whether you think you can do a thing or think you can't do a thing, you're right. Okay, I was so naive going into truck driver training school, okay, that I asked how many quarts of oil a big truck took. Okay, and I thought that all trucks were simply big and they all had 18 wheels. Well, the fact of the matter is not all trucks have 18 wheels, and they don't take quarts of oil, they take gallons of oil. But the thing about it is, I was learning and I was growing. I was reaching for something that I had never done before. Okay, are you using your strength in trucking? I think is one of the things that I would ask you. Are you using your strength? Are you able to, is there congruence in your life? Okay, so picking up where I stopped off when I was reading this, what I wrote to our team earlier, I said each of us, at least to a certain extent, is obeying or rebelling against the teaching that we received earlier in life. For example, if a child who is told repeatedly, you're not capable of doing such a task, he or she may never try to do that task. Okay, however, who is to say that that child can't do that task? Okay, there are plenty of stories of overcomers who tackled great odds, including, and I gave a list, okay, Glen Cunningham, whose legs were very badly burned in an explosion at age 8, about whom the doctors predicted he might never walk normally again, but who went on to become an American distance runner and athlete. Glen Cunningham. Helen Keller, who was left both deaf and blind at 19 months of age after contracting an illness, but who with the help of Anne Sullivan went on to become an American author, political activist, and a lecturer. And I also gave an example of someone who is the head of a very large and successful company. He is at the top of his field, and I won't go into any detail about that. Okay, but I also gave this, I said, I read this verse of scripture in the Bible. Agrippa said to Paul, you are permitted to speak for yourself. Paul stretched out his hand. Then Paul stretched out his hand and proceeded to make his defense. That's in Acts 26:1. All right, I said I wondered about Paul stretching out his hand. As it turns out, there are other verses of Scripture having to do with stretching out one's hand. And to conclude this line of thinking, and I gave two references to Pixabay images, photographs of people reaching out, I said, here are a couple of questions for you to consider. Number one, are you going to accept someone else's limiting belief about what you can or can't do? And number two, toward what goal are you stretching in your life? Or are you drifting along with the current, whatever that current may be? Okay, if all you've ever wanted to do is drive a truck for a living, and that is fulfilling your life purpose, that's fantastic, and I'm very happy for you. However, I realize that there are some people out there who are driving a truck for a living. That's not what they were destined to be in life. They realize it. There's something missing in my life. There's more to it. I just don't know what it is. Okay? I want to be able to let you know that I have prepared a second income for truckers e-course. Okay, part of that, the first 4 modules or sessions of that are completely free, and the rest of it is a paid product. But the fact of the matter is, I prepared this so that drivers could understand without flopping around and doing something that's going to cost them a lot of time and money, to be able to understand some of the things that they may or may not be gifted at, so that they can intelligently choose what to focus on during their off-duty hours as a trucker, so that they can start building up an income while they are still on the road. Okay, if you are a local driver, you may have time to focus on something like that during your off-duty hours at home. If you are a regional or a long-haul driver, you could certainly do that from the cab of your truck, assuming that you have, for example, a smartphone or a computer that has Wi-Fi access, or that you can make a mobile hotspot. Okay, so I would seriously, put you towards the second income for truckers e-course. Of course, there are things that you can do in the meantime, like try to find out what your strengths and your weaknesses are, okay, through some sort of personality assessment. I think there's a website called the Smalley Institute, led by Gary Smalley, and he has a PDF personality test on his website that you can figure out what your personality is, so that you can learn in part what your strengths and your weaknesses are. All right, we are looking for congruence. We're looking for the thing that motivates us, and to hit that groove or that stride. I told my husband when I was looking at something we were reading recently about a groove. When my husband Mike and I were team driving and we went into California on I-40, and you may have seen this for yourselves, drivers, in the heat of the summer, the asphalt gets soft, and the temperatures get up into the high 90s or the hundreds or even the 110 mark, okay, and that asphalt, under the weight of the tires of these trucks, it starts to get grooved, okay? And once you're in a groove like that, it can be very difficult to get out unless you're filling the groove with something else in your life. And so realize what sorts of images that portrays in your own life and whether or not you need to do something to help fill in that groove. Okay, let me also reference something that my husband said in a broadcast on these, it was early on in our Facebook Live broadcast. He says, what would you attempt to do if you knew that you couldn't fail? And another way of putting that is, what sort of legacy is it that you want to leave? Okay, some people, all they want to do is they want to raise a family and they want to maybe see their grandkids, and that's all the legacy they want to do. That's fine. Others, they have something bigger in life that they want to tackle, something more, something different, something that is in a position of strength. And I certainly want to ask you to start dreaming again, all right? This is Motivated Monday, and there are things that you can do if you put your mind to it. It could be anything from, becoming a speaker on a stage somewhere, teaching people, raising lots of money for the charity of your choice, and on it goes, okay? People who are starting orphanages overseas, or they are philanthropists, or they're leaving huge amounts of money to an institution of their choice. On it goes. So what I'm asking you to do is, for yourself, answer, do you know what motivates you? Do you have congruence in your life? And once you understand what drives you, you may begin to look for what motivates, what fills you, gives you a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. Okay, tomorrow night is Technology Tuesday, and we look forward to meeting you here. Please feel free to interact, and we look forward to that. And until next time, my husband Mike and I wish you great wellness, purpose, abundance, safe travels, and lots of money-saving opportunities on the road. Have a great night, drivers. Thanks.